Hello my dear students. So today I am going to discuss reproduction of man. So as you all know, we are evolutionary advanced organisms. So man, we are sexually dimorphic. You can differentiate men from women. So under this, we will be discussing the reproductive process. To understand that, first we will try to understand what adolescence or puberty is. Initially, when the baby is born, very young kids, very small children, toddlers, very small children, normally they look alike because their development is the normal physical development of the body, and their intelligence, the development of the brain. But after a certain period only, the secondary sexual characteristics develop. So that makes us easy to identify the male from the female. So that is where we need to understand puberty or adolescence. Sexual maturity or attaining adolescence is referred to as puberty. So sexual maturity. Now in males, the sexual reproductive structures are there, but the production of the gametes does not take place until adolescence. But in a female, when the baby is born itself, inside the ovary, the follicles are already there. But then they start producing or developing, the function is after adolescence. So that is why we say sexual maturity or attaining adolescence is referred to as puberty. Then only the reproductive system starts to function. Secondary sexual characteristics which differentiate males and females begin to appear from puberty. So here secondary sexual characteristics which help to differentiate males and females. So as I told you all, when they are very young, they almost look alike. If you just look at the face or basically the body structure, the kids are somewhat similar. They are almost the same. But when the sexual characteristics, that is the secondary characteristics, develop, we can easily differentiate the male from the female. So when we say secondary sexual characteristics, what are they? Features that appear in male and female from puberty are known as secondary sexual characteristics. So this term puberty or adolescence is very important. Now you all know the human body, there are hormones. So when we come to a certain age, then these hormones responsible for the reproduction or that are involved with the reproductive system, they start functioning. So they create or they make our body to change. That is where the sexual maturity occurs. So due to the hormonal effect, there is sexual maturity and the reproduction process starts. That is what we say as puberty or adolescence. So due to that, there are many features appearing externally as well as internal changes taking place. Now with that introduction, I will move on to the next slide. So here, secondary sexual characteristics of males. We will discuss that first. When we say secondary sexual characteristics, that actually appears between the age of 13 to 16 years. So these changes start to appear between the age of 13 to 16 years. These are some points that are very important, students. You all have to remember that. And for that, the action of testosterone hormone. Testosterone hormone is responsible for this. So I told you all, when the hormones start to function, the secondary characteristics develop. So that happens between the age of 13 and 16. And you all know testosterone is a steroid hormone. We have discussed that before. A lipid hormone. So it is a steroid hormone. What are these secondary sexual characteristics? If you can remember, normally we are all mammals. So a feature of mammal is that there is hair on skin. But here, during the secondary sexual characteristic development, pubic hair appears on certain parts of our body, usually the armpits and the genital areas. So that is one change that takes place. pubertal hair. So that's called pubertal hair. The normal hair is there for all people, but during secondary development or secondary sexual characteristic development, pubertal hair grows on face. When you say face, normally the mustache, the beard, all those are hair on face. Then chest, under armpits and in genital areas. So that is a development. So from the hair itself, you can identify the change taking place in males. Then the shoulders grow wide. So again, as I said, normally small kids, their structure, it's almost like a straight body structure. But with adolescents, the shoulders become broad. So you get the particular body shape for males. Then there is the larynx. We call it the Adam's apple. You can remember when the boys undergo adolescence stage, their voice changes. We call it the cracking of the voice. It becomes more rough. And also you can see the formation of the Adam's apple. That is because larynx enlarges. That is what you see as the Adam's apple. Larynx enlarges and voice becomes deep or rough. So you can differentiate the voice. So again, initially for small kids, the voice of girls and boys are almost the same. But after adolescence, you can easily differentiate the voice. Then there is the development or growth of bones and muscles grow faster. You can see an increased growth. Quickly they become taller, the shoulders become broad, they have a well-developed structure, the body structure. So bones and muscles grow faster and the growth of body is accelerated. So that's why quickly or suddenly you grow taller. So that is also a secondary sexual development. Then the testes start to produce sperm. That is something we can't see, but it happens after the secondary development. Testes start to produce sperms and also genitals start to grow large. So that means the reproductive structure or the reproductive system is ready to function from the stage of adolescence. So you have to remember, students, in boys, in males, it is between the age of 13 to 16 years. And also it is by the influence of testosterone hormone. Testosterone is a lipid hormone. And these are the characteristics. Pubertal hair grows on face, chest, under armpits and in genital areas. Shoulders grow wide. Larynx enlarges and voice becomes deep. Bones and muscles grow faster and the growth of body is accelerated. Testes start to produce sperms and also genitals start to grow larger. Those are the characters in males. Now I will move on to the next slide where I discuss the secondary sexual characteristics in females. So secondary sexual characteristics of female. Here there is a difference. Two main differences. One is the age. Earlier you all can remember in males it's 13 to 16 years. But in females it's 10 to 14 years. So basically more younger than the males. When females are between the age of 10 to 14 years. This is a normal age, students. But sometimes it can vary. It can even be 9 years or it can even go up to 15 years. It can slightly vary, but for a normal healthy person, usually it's between 10 to 14 years. And here the hormones, the action of estrogen, that is one hormone, the other one, progesterone, are responsible for this. So one thing, age difference, age 10 to 14 years. And there are two hormones involved, estrogen and progesterone. These are also lipid hormones or what we call as steroid hormones. So all the hormones involved in the reproductive system are steroid or lipid hormones. Then, if we look at the characteristics that change, again here pubertal hair grows on armpits and genital areas. So here you can see the difference. In males, it grows on the face as well, chest as well. But in females, it only the armpits and on genital areas. Then the pubic region widens. What is the pubic region? Normally, the region near your hips, there you have the reproductive organs are there, that region. What we normally call as the waist, below the abdomen, between the legs, it is the pubic region. So, that region becomes wider. Then we have the mammary glands, they start to grow. Again, the presence of mammary glands is a feature of mammals. But here, only after adolescence, the mammary glands start to grow. Then there is the fat deposit in the hypodermis. What is hypodermis? And body becomes fat. In our skin, below the skin, the fat layer is what we call as hypodermis. Skin is the epidermis. Below that, we have the hypodermis. So, there will be a deposit of fat there. And there are fat deposits in the hypodermis. That is why normally during adolescence, the females, their skin becomes more shiny, polished. Because of that, the fat deposit. You get that glowing nature. So, that is again due to fat deposit. And bones and muscles grow fast and the growth of body is accelerated. So, this is something common for both males and females. Bones and muscles grow fast and the growth of body is accelerated. So, suddenly the kids grow to become adolescent children. Then, releasing of ova from ovaries. And here you have to remember the menstrual cycle starts. So, in females, once the adolescence or puberty initiates, you will have the menstrual cycle. So, that is going to be a monthly cycle. That is not seen in males. So, these are the secondary sexual characteristics of females. You have to remember the age, students, age 10 to 14 years, the hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And these are the characteristics. Pubertal hair grows on armpits and on genital areas. Pubic region widens, mammary gland starts to grow, fat deposit in the hypodermis and body becomes fat. Bones and muscles grow fast and the growth of body is accelerated. And also releasing of ova from ovaries, that is menstrual cycle start. So, here it is the ova from ovaries. In males we said the sperms are produced. So, those are the gametes. Ovum in females and sperms in males. So, when they fuse only, there will be fertilization and the reproduction process will continue. So, I am sure you all can understand these characteristics. With that, I will move on to the next slide. Process of reproduction. So, process of reproduction, reproductive cells or gametes. Reproductive cells or gametes should be produced for the process of reproduction. So, if we take and this occurs in reproductive system. So, if we take the male, inside the male, there is the reproductive system that has the testis. And within the testis, the sperms are produced. And in females, we have the reproductive system. In that we have the ovary, and inside the ovary, it is going to be the ovum. And you all know, students, when there is the production of gametes, these are the gametes. And what is the cell division taking place there? Inside the testis and ovary, there will be meiosis. Meiosis. So, during meiosis, what happens? From the diploid number of chromosomes, haploid number of chromosomes are produced. So, that is where we get 23 chromosomes in both. 23 chromosomes. You are familiar with these, students. We have discussed this with the cell division as well. So, then when the sperm and ovum fuses, again we will get 23 pairs of chromosomes. So, that is the process of reproduction. And this occurs in reproductive systems, male and female reproductive system. So, to understand this process, the male and female reproductive systems separately. So, first I will discuss the male reproductive system with you all. So, male reproductive system, To understand this system, students, first I have included the diagram here. I will label the parts of the system and then we will discuss each structure one by one and their functions. So here, if you all look at the male reproductive system, here we have the urinary bladder. Actually, this part is the urinary bladder. So here we have the urinary bladder. So that you all know is part of the excretory system. Urinary bladder where urine is stored temporarily before excretion. So from there you all can see the urethra. From here you can see urinary bladder and here you can see the urethra. This particular tube-like structure is what we call as urethra. Then this structure that is part of the male reproductive system, that is the penis, and it is covered by a membrane that is called the prepuce. Then on this side, if we look at the structures, now this part is also part of the reproductive system, the male reproductive system. It is actually external to the body. We have discussed this when we discussed classification, the features of mammals. Testis is stored or testis is present external to the body inside scrotum or testis sac. So this particular sac-like structure is what we call as the scrotum or testis sac. So this is scrotum or testis sac. Here, inside that, this particular structure is the testis. So that is the testis. Inside the testis only sperms are developed. And from there you can see a tube-like structure coming and forming this particular structure that is known as the epididymis. 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 Then from there you can see this light yellowish color tube-like structure. That is the vas deferens. This is known as the vas deferens. Then this vas deferens comes to this part. It comes here. You can see there is a gland. That gland is the prostate gland. Prostate gland. So then here you can see this light yellowish color pouch-like structure. That is the seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle. So those are the important parts of the male reproductive system that you all need to know. So in this side, urinary bladder is there. Then there is the urethra. Actually, this urethra, you all have to remember, students, in males, urethra is a common tubule or tube-like structure that is part of the urinary system. So their urine is excreted through the urethra. At the same time, the seminal fluid or semen, we will be discussing that. That is part of the reproductive system that also will be given out, ejected through the urethra. So that is a common opening for both the urinary system as well as the male reproductive system. Then we have the penis structure. That is the structure that enters into the vagina so that the sperms are ejected into the vagina of the female reproductive system. And on this side, we have the seminal vesicle here, then the prostate gland. Both these are structures or glands that secrete substances along with the sperms. So then we have this vas deferens, the tube-like structure, then epididymis, this part where sperms are temporarily stored, and also the testis inside which the sperms are produced. And both these, the epididymis and the testis together, is stored in a scrotal sac or scrotum or what we call as testis sac. The reason is they have to be external to the body because sperms cannot survive the body temperature. So those are the parts of the male reproductive system. Now we will discuss their function one by one. So again we will discuss the parts of the male reproductive system, main parts of the male reproductive system. So the first one is what I told you all or showed you all as testes or testicles. Another name, testes or testicles. And always in a male reproductive system, there are two testicles. So there is a pair of testes which are oval in shape, are located in sac called scrotum or testis sac. So you have an oval shaped structure, that is the testis. Inside this testis, if you look at it, there will be structures like this, like lobules. So we call it testicle lobules. So inside these testicle lobules, there are convoluted means folded tubule-like structures. Convoluted tubular structures called the seminiferous tubules. So this is the testis. So here you can see, students, these lobule-like structures are known as testicle lobules. Testicle lobules. Again, small compartments or sac-like structures. Inside that, as I told you all, these are convoluted tubules. Folded tubule-like structures which are known as seminiferous tubules. So these are called seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules. So you have the testis inside the scrotum, and inside the testis there are about 250 testicle lobules, and then inside the testicle lobules there are convoluted tubules, folded tubules which are known as seminiferous tubules. There are about thousands of convoluted tubules inside each lobule. So that is the structure. So here you can see a pair of testes which are oval in shape are located in a sac called scrotum or testis sac. Sperms are produced in these structures, and the testis is comprised of about 250 testicle lobules. And there are about 1000 convoluted tubules which are called seminiferous tubules inside them. And inside the seminiferous tubules only the sperms are produced. So that is produced from the sperm mother cell. So sperm mother cells are produced in seminiferous tubules. So that is developed into a sperm mother cells. So these are the things that you need to understand regarding the testes or testicles. Then I will move on to the next structure. This is pair of epididymis. Now I showed you all this in the diagram. From the seminiferous tubules, there are small tubules called the vas efferents. These vas efferences combine and bring the sperms into the epididymis. So there are two testicles. Above the two testicles, there are epididymis. Here you can remember testicles were rod shaped like that. Above that you had the epididymis. So from all the lobules, the seminiferous tubules, there is the vas efferents that brings the sperms into the epididymis. So pair of epididymis, all the vas efferents. Here you can see those tubes are the vas efferents in a testis, emerge out of the testis and are open to a single convoluted tube called epididymis. So here also epididymis, that is also a convoluted tubule. So again folded tube. And here this is the function. The sperms are temporarily stored inside the epididymis. Sperms are temporarily stored in it. So throughout the sperms are produced within the testis. they are transported through the vas efferents and they are temporarily stored inside the epididymis. And when there is copulation, they are ejected through the penis. That is what happens there. Then there is the pair of vas deferens. So, vas deferens is the tube that starts from the epididymis. And you can remember it goes up to the glands. The prostate gland, then there is the seminal vesicle. I told you all the sperms travel through this pair of vas deferens, and with the sperms there are secretions from the different glands, the prostate gland, seminal vesicle, everything is added together. Then together the fluid is transported into the urethra. So here pair of vas deferens, the tube that brings sperms from epididymis is called vas deferens. So from the epididymis it goes to the seminal vesicle. That is something. The other end of it is joined to the tube coming from seminal vesicle. So you have the epididymis. Then we have the seminal vesicle. These two are connected by the vas deferens. So, sperm is transported from the epididymis to the seminal vesicle. So, two other structures. I will move on to the next structure. We have the penis. This is the muscular organ which is important in ejection of semen into female reproductive system. So, I told you all inside the testis, from the sperm mother cell, the sperms are produced. So, these sperms are taken to the epididymis. Inside the epididymis, they are stored temporarily and whenever it is needed for ejaculation. So, during copulation, from the epididymis through the vas deferens, sperms are taken to the seminal vesicle. And inside the seminal vesicle, there are secretions. Not only from the seminal vesicle, we will discuss from the other glands like prostate gland, and there is another gland called the Cooper's gland. So, all these secretions together with the sperm is what we call as semen. So, semen and the secretions, that is a whitish color fluid. So, that will be ejected into the female reproductive system by the penis, and this becomes rigid when there is blood supply. So normally it's not rigid, but when there is a lot of blood supply, again during copulation it becomes rigid, so that easily the sperms can be, the semen can be ejected into the female reproductive system. Then there is the urethra. This I told you all before also opens out through the penis. So, urethra is the tube-like structure through which the semen will be ejected out, and that is a common path or common structure for both the urinary system and the reproductive system. Urethra, very important. Then, the tip of the penis is called glans penis. That is the part that will enter into the female reproductive structure, glans penis, and it is covered by a prepuce or foreskin. The prepuce or foreskin is flexible, it can be moved, so that when there is the ejection of sperm, the urethra, the opening of the urethra is exposed out. So, there is a tip of the penis that is known as the glans penis, and that is covered by the prepuce or foreskin, a skin-like structure. Is that clear to you all, students? So, those are different parts of the male reproductive system. Then if I show you all the picture again, I have labeled all the parts for you all before also. So, you can see here we have the testis. Testis is inside the scrotum or the testis sac. So, you can see this part is where you have the epididymis. So, from the testis to the epididymis, it is the vas efferens. So, inside the epididymis, sperms are temporarily stored, and then this is the vas deferens. You can see the structure. So sperms are taken from the epididymis to the vas deferens and it comes to the seminal vesicle there. Here you can see seminal vesicle, the prostate gland, and there is the Cooper's gland. So they all secrete substances along with the sperm. So then we call it the semen. And semen will be transported through here. Now this part is the urethra. And through the urethra, semen will be ejected out. And this is the muscular structure, penis, which become rigid when there is enough blood supply. So those are the parts of the male reproductive system that you all need to understand. So now I will move on to the next slide where I will discuss the function of the male reproductive system. So functions of male reproductive system. The first function, production of sperms, begins when a male attains puberty. This is important, students. The sperm starts to produce inside the male reproductive system only when they attain puberty or adolescence. At what age? Usually between 13 and 16 years. So this is something important. Then sperms are formed from the sperm mother cells which are in the seminiferous tubules. I explained that to you all before also. After this, I will show you all some diagrams where we look at the structure of the testes and the seminiferous tubules as well. Then sperms are temporarily stored in epididymis. Sperms are temporarily stored in epididymis. During copulation, sperms pass through vas deferens and are collected to the urethra. So I explained the process as well. During copulation, that is the sexual intercourse, during which time the semen is ejected into the female reproductive system. So during the copulation, sperms pass through vas deferens and are collected to the urethra. Again, urethra, students, I told you all, common to both the urinary system and the reproductive system. At the same time, the secretions, this is important, of the prostate gland 1, then Cowper's glands are also mixed with sperms. There are secretions from the prostate gland and the Cowper's gland are also mixed with the sperm. The secretion mixed with sperms is called seminal fluid or semen. So sperm and the secretions from the Cowper's gland as well as the prostate gland, that together is the seminal fluid or semen. That is what is going to be ejected into the female reproductive system. So there are millions of sperms in 1 milliliter of semen. This is also important. A very, very large number. Millions of sperms in 1 milliliter of semen. What is the reason? Again, you all know, organisms, they want to ensure that their species continues on Earth. So here there is very less chances of a sperm fertilizing the ovum. So to make sure that happens, this nature has evolved in such a way there is a large number of sperms inside semen. So millions of sperms in 1 milliliter of semen, so that it will make sure a sperm can fertilize the ovum. So those are the functions of a male reproductive system. So main thing you have to remember, students, the production of sperms, that is the important function. So this starts after puberty or when the male attains puberty. Then only the seminiferous tubules have the sperm mother cells. They are produced into sperms, temporarily stored in epididymis. Then they reach the seminal vesicle through the vas deferens, and their secretions from the prostate gland and the Cowper's gland mix with it. Then we call it the seminal fluid or the semen, and that contains millions of sperms in 1 milliliter of semen, and that will be ejected through the urethra that is present inside the penis into the female reproductive system. So those are the functions of male reproductive system. With that, I will move on to the next slide. So here I told you all I will show you all the structure, students. Here you can see the oval shaped structure, that is the testis. So inside the testis, can you all see the lobules, testicle lobules? Now these structures are the testicle lobules. There are about 250 testicle lobules. Inside that you can see the convoluted tubules, the folded tubules. What do we call them? The seminiferous tubules. The structure is shown here. And then here you can see the convoluted structure, epididymis. And from there it will be the vas deferens. So this is the structure if we take longitudinal structure of a testis. If we look at the enlarged structure or the cross section of a seminiferous tubule, then you can see these are the sperm mother cells. On the wall of the seminiferous tubules, you can see the sperm mother cells. Here these are the sperm mother cells and the sperms are produced from that. So those are the sperms. So here again you can see part of the seminiferous tubule, the wall. Here these are the sperm cells coming out from the wall of the seminiferous tubule. From the sperm mother cells they are produced, and here there is another type of cell that is known as the Sertoli cell. Sertoli cell is actually a somatic cell. It actually controls and helps in the development of the sperm. Production and development of the sperm. So all that takes place within the testis, and you all know for this to happen, and the sperms cannot survive in the body temperature of man. Our body temperature, we are warm-blooded animals, it's about 37 degrees Celsius. That temperature is too much for the survival of the sperm. That is why the scrotum is external to the body and the testis is present inside the scrotum or the scrotal sac. Is that clear to you all, students? So with that, I will move on to the next slide. Here we look at the structure of a sperm. Process of generating sperms is very sensitive to temperature. This is what I explained to you all. Process of generating sperms. So that happens outside the body. The temperature in the testis should be lower than the body temperature. So testis temperature should be lower than the body temperature to produce healthy sperms. That is the reason for testis to be in a sac called scrotum outside the body. This is something that I have already explained. Then if we look at the structure of a sperm. Matured sperm is motile. What is the meaning of motile? It's alive, active, and also it can move. So that it can move with the semen, it can be ejected into the female reproductive system. There it can move and reach the point that is the fallopian tube where it can fertilize the ovum. So the mature sperm has to be motile and it consists of 3 parts named head, body and tail. So this is the structure of a sperm. I will explain the parts to you all. Here you can see this part is the head, and inside the head there is a nucleus, and in the nucleus there is DNA. So now you all know why the head is there. That contains the nucleus, the DNA, the chromosomes, information from the father or the male. So that will fertilize the ovum. Then the new generation offspring produced will have the characteristics from the father as well as the mother. And you all know here the DNA will be, or the chromosomes will be only 23 chromosomes. A haploid cell, 23, that is N. These are all information that you already know. So the head contains a nucleus. Then here this part is actually the neck that joins the head with the body. This part is the body of the sperm. Now in the body you can see this structure that is actually mitochondria. Mitochondria. What are mitochondria? You all know that. There are organelles present in the cell. They are known as the powerhouse of the cell. So here also in the body there is mitochondria that produces lot of energy so that the sperm can move from the vagina of the female reproductive system up to the fallopian tube. We will discuss that process a little later, but that is why there is lot of mitochondria in the body part of the sperm. Then the rest of it is the tail. Now this tail actually helps the sperm to move forward. So like the normal tails in other organisms, here also the tail actually helps the sperm to move forward. Now this structure, although it looks like a large structure, this is a structure of a sperm under electron microscope. So you all know, students, if we need to use the electron microscope, how tiny the sperm would be. So under that only you can see this structure. The head containing the nucleus, then the neck, the body containing mitochondria and the tail. So you should be able to draw and label the structure of a sperm. So that is the male reproductive system. With that, I will move on to the next slide. Activities of male reproductive system. Earlier we discussed the functions of the male reproductive system. I explained all the parts and the functions of all the parts to you all. Now we will look at the activities of male reproductive system. There are three main activities. Production of sperm cells. Where does the production of sperm cells take place? Inside the testes. So you all have to remember where all these happens. Testes or testicles. Another name, testicles. Then ejection of sperms into female reproductive system. That is actually done by the urethra that is present inside the penis. Then production of testosterone. Testosterone, I told you all, is a lipid hormone and it actually controls the production of sperms. Only after secondary sexual characteristics develop, that is adolescence or puberty, the testosterone hormone start to function in the body of a male and that initiates the production of sperms. So that also you have to remember. So testosterone is a lipid hormone. Lipid hormone, it is produced or we can say secreted by the testes and it induces or controls the production of sperm. So these are things that you need to remember. Three functions of the male reproductive system. Production of sperm cells, ejection of sperms into female reproductive system and production of testosterone. That is the hormone related to the male reproductive system. So with that, students, I am going to complete this chapter and in the next chapter, I will discuss the female reproductive system with you all and the functions.